Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is. That reached 100 million people, I tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Well, hello everyone. I decided to put my hair up and look, round two, Kenny. You guys just got to give me a second because I'm still making my little RCV sandwiches. Oh my God. Why do I have Rich here? What did I do wrong? Oh my goodness. Okay, Rich 1, John 1. Aaron. Okay, you just gotta give me a few minutes because I have them all written out. I just didn't make my little sandwiches of choices. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm almost done. I'm on the regionals. Okay. Now we got John. Okay. You know, what they said about organized religion, don't be worried, we're not that organized. That's me. Okay, Rich 1, Rich 2, Rich 3. And a lot of people didn't rank all 4 choices, so that's making it easier. So we have Susan 1, Susan 2. Is my sound working? Y'all would let me know. I think it is, because normally y'all would be yelling at me if it wasn't working. So I just need to pull up that sound levels window though. Susan 1, Susan, yep, it's working. Susan 1, Susan 2, Susan 3, Susan 4, okay. I think I'm on the last one. Joshua 1, Joshua 2, Joshua 3. Okay, got all my little sandwiches. Alrighty, to get started, I've got a bunch of stuff to cover. First things first, as I usually do. And where'd I put my beer? Okay, I see it. Let's close this widget for 1 second. Oh no, I want my logo. I don't want that. That's Diana from last time. Okay, what am I looking for? That's what I'm looking for. Oh my God. I hate rushing to get ready. This Red's Hard Apple is really good. If you support this kind of wacky work, and check out this new shirt I got. I say, you're so fake, Barbie's jealous. Booyah! So if you appreciate that kind of thing, patrons below. That's all I'm going to say about that. $20 and up patrons get to have me do a promo of their Liberty product or business of their choice. I still need to reach out to all my $20 and up patrons to let them know. And I wanted to show you some stuff. And at the very end, we're going to talk about webinar mode because I want to see if Diana's going to come. Don't let me forget. Please, please, please don't let me forget. And how do you like my little Statue of Liberty earrings? But, all right. I said in my, I don't like, this is like giving me like unicorn head. Okay, so 70s, isn't it? Or 80s. I said last time, there's nothing, yeah, living in a Barbie world. Life in plastic. It's fantastic. I'll drink to that. Okay, I said there's nothing I love more. Oh, God, I always forget in my promo stuff. As usual, super chats are always welcome. Okay, done with the financials. I said there's nothing I love more than street protest, right? So I'm like the queen of making signs, but I still got to come up with signs for that anti-Medicare for all thing. But here's my latest sign. What do you think? I love it. I love it. I love it a lot. So that's good for all, don't you think? And any occasion. Taxes are revolting. Why aren't you? Love it. So that's going in my sign pile. Got all my trash Post-its there. And actually, National used to put that out. At first, I wasn't going to make the sign. Because I'm like, people are going to think I'm talking about violent revolt. Obviously, I'm not. I'm a pacifist. But I'm like, National used to put that sign out. Why am I a radical of all people getting cold feet? Even I sometimes, you feel the pull to moderate. It is so tempting. It really is. So while I do rag about the rhinos on the LNC, the radicals in name only, I have myself felt the urge or the temptation to conform and to get to you know, get along, to move along, or whatever it is, you know. And it really has to be resisted, which is another reason why I'm pretty convinced that 3 terms in any one seat is enough. I almost would prefer not that nobody run for anything else for a while, like take a year off, but I'm not hardcore on that. But I do believe 3 terms in any one seat is enough, at least consecutively. So if I'm blessed enough to win secretary in 2022, that will be my last term, my last consecutive term as secretary. Might run for it again in the future, might run for something else, but that will be 3 terms as secretary. Let someone else do it for a while. Everyone kind of goes a little batty in their 3rd term. Hopefully, if I win, I won't, but I wouldn't be surprised because it seems like everyone does. All right, and I got something from Abe Books, and I think this is from last show. You guys, I invest a lot in the history myself. Okay? This isn't all stuff from the party archives. There were some books that were listed in the Political Action Manual last show, and I said I was going to see if I could find any of them, and I believe I found at least one of them. So the date on this, it's from the Chamber of Commerce of the United States. I didn't know there was a U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I knew there was for cities. Excuse me. And it's called Action Course in Political Politics, and I think it's from the sometime in the 1960s. Very patriotic. I prefer my patriotic. It's the only time I think I've ever used red, white, and blue on a sign. I'm not patriotic, if you haven't been able to tell. So it's a bunch of little, wow, this is in great shape. It's a bunch of little pamphlets in the original little cardboard thing. This is super in great shape. Let me see if I can find the year on it. And I'll show you everything else. Just see if I can find the year. 1969. So the LP people would have been using this. And there are 6 booklets. Look what great shape this is in. On the back it says Political Participation Program. I wonder how much in tax theft money was for this. And check this out. It even had the insert, which it looks like a poster. Look at this. Wow. This is really a collector item. Oh, so it's not a poster, it's like a pamphlet. So it says, here it is, a shorter, sharper action course in political politics. And look at this young Bob Dole on the cover there. Right there. Public Affairs Department, Chamber of Commerce of the United States. Has the course objectives. And I'm seeing if there's any other people here we know. I mean, I know some of these politicians, but I don't know if you would, like Birch Bay, which we dealt with in a history podcast. But here's what the inside looks like. And on the back, man, check out this lady. Boy, does she look like librarians from the past, doesn't she? She looks like some of the people in the parliamentary that were chairs of the National Association of Parliamentarians. So there's a set of 6 booklets. It'd be a lot more interesting if it was sex. Case problems, assignment guides, and a discussion leader's manual. This is in super great shape. I think I only paid like $5 for it. And the books are You and the Political Organization, The Political Precinct, The Political Campaign, Political Clubs, The Political Leaders' Problems, and Political Meetings. We're going to go through these in the History Podcast because this is the atmosphere. This might actually end up being on my patron-only channel. We'll see. But this is the soil from which the LP sprang. All right, so I'm going to put that aside. Do I have anything else to show you guys? I don't think so. I think that's it. Need more to drink. Okay. Wanted to do another RCV demonstration because the last one, I have a feeling we were all way too much up in our feels because we really cared about the results, which was the chair election. So we did another RCV ballot at the same time, which was on our next meeting location. It was also meeting location and dates, but we're just going to deal with the meeting location because they were all for September 4th through 5th, except for if it was going to be in Denver, it would have been right after, excuse me, the 50th anniversary, which was the end of August. So dates were tied to specific locations. So we're just going to deal with the location. Man, I drank that beer too fast. Woof. That means I need more. So what we have here on the board, next meeting location, and I've got another camera to show more of the board as we're moving along. So one of the locations was Denver, Cincinnati, Louisville, and Alexandria. And Alexandria would have been where the LP headquarters is. All right? So, oh, you like Fina? Aren't those cool? No. You know I always have fabulous nails. Very fussy about my nails. Okay, so we're going to do now the RCV thing. I have all the little sandwiches made. I'll show you one of them. I'll show you mine because I ranked all 4. What I mean by sandwiches. So I've got my first choice pick here in blue. So it says Karen Ann 1 is Denver. And then underneath it, in case we have to peel it off, is Karen Ann 2, Kentucky. Karen Ann 3, Ohio. And Karen Ann 4, Virginia. So all of them, at least as much as everyone ranked, have been made into these little sandwiches. It's the easiest way to demonstrate a single winner RCV. Multi-winner RCV is way more difficult. And that's called single winner RCV is IRV, which is instant runoff voting. And multi-winner RCV is single transferable vote. A lot of people think that's a different kind of RCV. No, it's not. STV just means it's multi-winner. IRV means it's single winner. Now, there are different kinds of RCV, but IRV and STV are not the different kinds. They just indicate whether you're talking about a single winner or a multi-winner. So many people have that confused. So we're going to put up everybody's first choice votes. And I am going to flip to the other camera to do that. Okay, because you can see across a little bit. I know the lighting's not so great. It's a little webcam I have up there. But so my number 1, Denver. Whitney Bill Hughes, number 1 was Kentucky, Louisville. Ken, Louisville. There were 16 people on the LNC at the time, so 9 is required to win because the chair position was vacant when we started doing this. Tim, Ohio. Eric Radsip, Kentucky. I know you can't see it as well. We're going to go back to the main camera. I just wanted you to see him going all the way across. Nikayla, Kentucky. Jeff Hewitt abstained, so we're just going to stick him down here. He abstained from the whole vote. Dustin, Kentucky. John, Ohio. Rich Bowen, Alexandria. And you'll notice a lot of people favored their region, which is understandable, or at least close to their region. So Rich is region 8, which is the upper northeast, so he picked Virginia. Tim is Nevada. I'm in Colorado, but that isn't why I picked Denver, but it would make sense if it was, but it wasn't. So Susan went against her geography and picked Denver first because it would be cheaper for everyone. Joshua picked Ohio. I'm not sure where Joshua lives right now. Richard Longstreth, Kentucky. Kentucky was very popular because we've never been to Kentucky for an LNC meeting. Valerie Sarwark, Virginia. That's closest to her. Laura Ebke voted against her self-interest and put number 1 Denver because it was better for everyone else, but she wouldn't be able to make it, so that was a selfless first round on her part. And Chris Lucchini also picked Denver. Okay, so as you can see, Alexandria had the least votes. So let's go back to my main camera here. So what we're going to do is Alexandria is eliminated. Where's my marker? So Alexandria gets eliminated, and we remove Alexandria first choice votes from Valerie and from Rich Bowen, and we transfer their votes to their second place. Valerie's second place was Ohio, and Rich's second place was Ohio. That gives Ohio 5 votes, Louisville 6 votes, Cincinnati 5 votes, Louisville 6 votes, and Denver 4 votes. So on the next round, Denver gets eliminated. And we transfer those votes. So my first choice of Denver gets eliminated. My second choice was Kentucky. I know you can't see it. We're going to go back to the other thing. Susan's first choice was Denver. It gets eliminated. Her second choice was Virginia, which was already eliminated, so her second choice goes out the window. Her third choice was Kentucky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more vote and Kentucky wins, but we're going to transfer all of them anyway. Okay, Laura's first choice was Denver. Her second choice is Kentucky. So Kentucky, I'll just stick this here, wins, but let's also transfer Chris's, which was also Kentucky. So Kentucky wins. I think that was how many rounds? 4 rounds? Or is it 3 rounds? What, however many rounds it was, Kentucky wins with, I think 10 votes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 10 votes to Ohio's 5. Ohio never even got close to a majority. So that's very, and I'm going to go to the other camera here so you can see. Yeah, 3 rounds. So you can see it ended up in a showdown between Cincinnati and Louisville won. So on a race that we're not quite so up in our feels about, I think this was a very easy demonstration of RCV. Now, if we were just curious what everyone else's choice underneath there first here for Ohio to see how disappointed they would be once Ohio was eliminated. Tim's next choice was Kentucky. John's next choice was Kentucky. Joshua's next choice was Kentucky. Valerie did not vote for anything after Ohio, so her ballot would have been exhausted. And Rich was Kentucky. So Kentucky's definitely the consensus candidate. So hopefully each time we do this, you guys will start to be more comfortable and understand RCV more and not just relying on the computer. It's actually quite simple to do by hand. You could do it with stacks of paper as well, but I wanted to show you visually. But maybe next time we'll try it. I'll get an overhead camera and we'll do it with shifting stacks of paper, so you see the way it's normally hand counted. What did I just roll up? I rolled over. Some scraps. Alrighty. Woo. Hello, Death. How are you today? Feeling deadly? Long time no see. All right, so that's it for the RCV. But I also promised Diana, who I don't see here, so she'll watch this later. Oh, and I wanted to tell you guys something about RCV. So before we get to webinar mode, I wanted to read something to you. So let me pull up my email. Just give me 1 second. And I'm going to download this letter, and I'm going to also tell you their response, because I already got a response. But I want to, Death was on vacation. Death is not allowed to be on vacation. All right. So I'm going to pull up this letter that we sent as LPCO to RCV Colorado. They actually responded very well. So we're going to tell you their response as well. But I'd like to open a new window here because I like showing things in frames. And I forgot I was going to show this to you guys, or I would have set this up ahead of time. So let's do this. Oh, look, it's pulling up my other camera. Well, let's just keep that camera up. Why not? You get another view of my studio. And let me pull in this letter I wanted to show you. I think it's in my downloads folder. Or is it on my desktop? It's on my desktop. So let's pull this up. Okay. And I'll read this out loud. From the LPCO. And you notice the way we did our logo. I know I love pointing shit like this out, where it says Libertarian and underneath it says Party of Colorado. You'll see a lot of them that use the chicken on the stick in their logo will have it right justified. And for shorter state names, I think that works out okay, but I like the way this one is spread out. It's called kerning. Any of you who are into graphic designs, you'll see the way this is kerned out, and I like that. But I suppose like if it was Ohio, it would look really weird. But it's fine with longer state names. All right, so July 15th, 2001 to Linda Templin and Emma Donahue of RCV, Colorado. Dear Ms. Templin and Ms. Donahue, our secretary, Karen Ann Harlos, who is also the National Secretary of the Libertarian Party, bitches still here, alerted us to a requirement that RCV, Colorado had imposed upon volunteers for its political, I skipped the word event, my bad, for its political event on the weekend of July 10th through 11th, 2021. That being having submitted to a COVID vaccine. This is completely unacceptable to the Libertarian Party of Colorado, open paren LPCO, close paren. As you know, the LPCO and Ms. Harlos have been vocal supporters of your cause, and the newly elected board is eager to promote and assist. But this is a deal breaker for us. It is completely violative of bodily autonomy to require someone to permanently alter their body in order to participate in civic volunteer life, and we refuse to be a part of that. We support RCV on principle, but a higher principle, self-ownership, prevails. I imagine that many conservative groups would feel the same. So unless you are intending to make RCV Colorado primarily sympathetic to the left, we urge you to modify that stance to simply and politely ask people to be voluntarily vaccinated and leaving it up to them. But be absolutely clear. The LPCO will not promote or urge its activists to hit the streets for your organization if you are going to insist on creating two classes of citizens and discriminating against those who cannot be vaccinated, as well as those who choose not to be, open paren, not to mention those who find it unacceptably invasive of their privacy to disclose their status as vaccinated, close paren. On a related note, as you know, I and Ms. Harlos are planning on petitioning to get ranked choice on the ballot in Castle Rock. We cannot succeed without the support of RCV Colorado. But if you are going to impose this vaccination requirement on petitioning volunteers recruited by you, we will need to withdraw our intentions and find other political causes to pursue in Castle Rock. Please let us know. In Liberty, Wayne Harlos, Chair, Libertarian Party of Colorado, passed without objection by resolution of the board on July 12, 2021. I brought this to the board and drafted the letter and asked them to approve. It was very difficult for me. I want to change my camera angle here. And I'm going to show you their response. It was a very positive response. So I love RCV Colorado. I'm on their policy committee. I'm an activist with them, but I was ready to drop them like a hot potato over this because a higher principle prevails, self-ownership. I did not participate in that canvassing event on July 10th through 11th because of that. I'm very good friends with Linda Templin, who's one of the ladies we wrote here. So let me get their response. I'm going to print it out and pull it up on the screen. They responded right away. I'm one of their better activists. And it was funny, Frank Atwood was at that meeting. If you don't know Frank, Frank is our approval voting activist. And I think in some ways he resents that I personally threw in my lot with RCV rather than approval voting. The LPCO supports both. I personally support RCV over approval voting. Let me pull up her response. Well, first let me put this off the screen. Now let me pull up her response. And this was just today, and we already got a response. So you'll see I sent her, Linda and Emma, I was asked as secretary of the LPCO to transmit this letter to you. We look forward to hearing back. I have CC'd the board. So here's Linda's response. Excuse me. And she also copied, I'm noticing Desmond Wallington, who's part of RCV Colorado. I didn't notice that before. Hi, Karen Ann. Thank you for the letter and for bringing up concerns about liberty. As always, I am grateful to you and the LPCO for insights. As an organization, we believe that we very much do need a diversity of viewpoints. RCV4CO took last weekend's voluntary activity, quote unquote, vaccine please stance as a preventative measure. The concern was that COVID exposure could potentially inflict harm to the Denver community or to our volunteers. It was our accommodation that volunteers could assist remotely if they are unvaccinated. RCV4CO is amenable to community standards. We understand that DUGCO, El Paso, and other counties have very different community expectations of safety. And she's correct. Denver is very, very progressive. I am not sure this is the answer, but what do you think of having two types of counties? Quote unquote, vaccine please, and quote unquote, informed consent only. The information would be that week's county health statistics on rate of vaccination and positivity rate as volunteers. They decide whether to attend / mask up. If LPCO prefers to not alert the libertarians of the quote unquote vaccine please events, that would be entirely reasonable. Thank you for your assistance in navigating this complex social territory. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. I thought that was a very polite letter. Just so you know, Linda's background, she's from the Green Party. So she's very much from the left. And here is what I wrote back. Obviously, we would prefer all voluntary informed consent, but if at least some are, that we will gladly promote and participate in these. Thank you for considering us. I want to be very clear, we are not anti-vax by any means. I personally say take my money when I hear of new vaccines. But this is a bodily autonomy issue and self-ownership is the core of libertarian philosophy. I am concerned, though I am sure you guys looked into this, about the legality of asking for private medical information. I think we are going to see a lot of court cases about this in the coming year. I do know there were remote opportunities, but that created the dual classes of volunteers that we could not support. Thank you so much for your kind response. That was respectful of our viewpoint. So I thought this went as well as could be expected. So there will be some we can support and some we would not. You might not have caught in her response here where she said, we understand that DUGCO, El Paso, and other counties have different community expectations of safety. She was responding there without saying so to our question about Castle Rock. Castle Rock's in DUGCO. DUGCO, we're not freaking out about the virus here. So she was obliquely answering the question that they are fine with just putting informed consent for Castle Rock volunteers for the petitioning effort that Wayne and I want to do. So that is still on as far as we are concerned. There's another petitioning thing we're not directly involved in, but there is a libertarian involved in it that came and spoke to our board. I don't have all the information on it right now. I'll also be updating you guys for tomorrow. And Farron, you'll be interested in all this. Oh, by the way, Farron, see Wayne. Farron lives in our neighborhood, by the way. And Josh, I'll get to your question. So Farron lives in the same neighborhood we do. So Farron, see Wayne, he has some petitions for, it's to lower property taxes. I'm going to update us on that maybe tomorrow. But if you see him, he needs signatures. They've got there's another libertarian spearheading it, but we offered to help. Also tomorrow, and Farhan, you should be excited about this, Wayne and I are having lunch with Doug Bruce. Doug Bruce is a legend. He is the author of, and he's just a thorn in the side of legislatures, but he's the author of TABOR, which is the Taxpayer Bill of Rights that we have here in Colorado, which we argued quite a bit at the Castle Rock Town Council. You heard TABOR come up over and over, and de-Brucing. Well, we are meeting with Bruce tomorrow. Apparently, he has a new initiative which will help protect TABOR. So I will update you on that also tomorrow. And if possible, I would like to see if Doug would let me record the meeting. I'm trying to give you guys all over the country, even though what I'm doing here obviously is specific to Colorado, but I'm trying to give you guys practical activism training or hints or just, you know, a bird's eye view, you know, because I remember what it was like to be new and not knowing like my ass from my elbow. Okay. And I don't want anyone to feel stupid like I felt stupid. I wish there was this kind of information. Along those lines, please go to Libertarian Party Official. I started a new series there called Unconventional. It'll be every other Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. It's going to go through to next year, and it's going to teach you soup to nuts how to be a good national convention delegate. The first episode's already up. It's just very basic. It will get more and more complex as time goes on, and anyone can drop off at any time when they've learned all they want to. But each episode will build upon the other. And the last few episodes will be like really down and dirty to master the basics of Robert's Rules of Order. So, next, done with this, let's go back to my main camera. I promised Diana, and I think I need another beer. Let me finish this, and I'm going to tell you to let me get up for 1 second just to go to my fridge over there to get another beer. So let me get another beer. Diana wants me to talk about webinar mode, and I'm going to get to Josh Thurn's question. So give me 1 second. Okay, this is a different flavor. I don't know if I'm going to like this. It's hard apple strawberry. For some reason, that combination does not sound good, but I've already had enough alcohol that it'll probably be good no matter what. And Farhan, I wanted to tell you in case you were curious, because you know where we live. I'm in the basement, if you're wondering where this studio is. We don't have a finished basement, but we do have a full basement under our house. I know a lot of them only have half. It's not finished at all, but this is just like a little corner. And this isn't actually cement. This is wallpaper that just looks like cement, but I did spray paint the Lady Liberties on it. All right. I just figured he'd be interested because he knows the houses in this neighborhood. All righty. So Josh Thurn says, when are you visiting New York City and running for chair? I am not running for chair. So I am not running for chair. I'll drink to that. Actually, let me put it to you this way, because I would have told you once I never would be secretary of a national political party. And if I had had a quiz 8 years ago, like 1 year before I became politically involved, if someone had said, oh, out of these 4 things, one of these is going to happen to you. And one of them said, you're going to be the national secretary. Well, there's a bunch of them, but like, let's say one of them said that, you know, national secretary of the 3rd largest political party. And like one of the other choices was like, give birth to a set of quintuplets, even though I'd already entered menopause. I would have picked the fucking quintuplets before I would have picked secretary of a political party. I never had been politically involved in my life. I didn't even vote. So right now I have no plans on ever running for chair, but God has a sense of humor, so I'm not going to tempt him. I don't rule it out for the future, but I have no plans to do so. I would be vice chair before I'd be chair anyway. I enjoy being secretary. I like being support. I very much enjoy being secretary, which is why I have the trifecta of secretary roles. I'm county secretary, state secretary, and national secretary. And I'm a paralegal by profession, which is clerical. It's secretarial in a way. It's like executive secretary. I mean, it's more professional, but you know what I mean. And don't diss legal secretaries. Holy shit. They're badasses. Okay, John, I hope I answered. Oh, I didn't answer your other part. When am I visiting New York? I've never, ever been to New York. Never. And I want to go so bad. Like all of New York. I want to go to the big city. Like I am dying to go to New York City. I love big cities. Not to live in permanently, but to visit. I would love to live in a big city for a year, though. I'd love to live in Denver for a year. But I want to visit New York City so bad. But I also want to visit upstate New York. I was born in Connecticut. So that area is kind of like in my blood. Like even when I was in New Hampshire, it like felt like home, you know? And Kenny says, Harlos for Vice Chair 2024. I have no idea. Wayne kind of wants me to be done with the LNC. He wants my time, but he won't get my time even when I'm done with the LNC, because once I'm done with the LNC, I'm going to be running some very serious campaigns for public office. Now I'm running no matter what next year, and for Ron, it is next year for District 5 in Castle Rock. I'm running in Castle Rock next year. I want to find another Libertarian for that ballot, though, because there's a reason for that. So for Ron, if you also want to run for District 5, we can campaign for each other. I'll tell you my strategy offline. I don't want to broadcast it to the world. But I'd love to get another Libertarian on the District 5 ballot. But I want a Libertarian in every district for the Castle Rock race. Now they're split every other year. But we need to do some recruiting for the other ones. I'll have to look up which other ones. I think the mayor gets elected next year too. But we'll talk offline. Now, Kenny, you'll laugh. And it could still happen because I don't think my political assassins are done with me yet. But if I was removed from secretary earlier this year, which I wasn't, still here, bitches, I wasn't going to rerun for secretary in Reno. I was going to run for vice chair. I'd be like, be careful what you wish for, bitches. You remove me from secretary, my ass will run for vice chair. Keep pushing me. I might run for chair just to spite you. But I'm still here, and I love being secretary, so I will rerun for secretary. I think Wayne wants me to run for at-large, though, because there's absolutely no job duties. But he knows me. I'll just volunteer for a bunch of shit, because I always do more than I'm supposed to. But if I had gotten removed, I was going to run for vice chair. But since I didn't, I'm running for secretary. And my heart, I have to tell you, my first LNC position was Region 1. And my heart is still in Region 1. They were my babies. And I really liked being a regional representative where you could really, I think you all know my heart is I love being an advocate for underdogs. Thus, me going to bat for New Hampshire. I love balancing out a power dynamic. And Region 1, I loved going to bat for my states. And I know Chuck Moulton meant this as an insult, and in a way it was kind of an insult. But I took it as a point of pride. Chuck Moulton said, oh, there she goes again when I was Region 1. Chuck goes, there she goes again, bringing home the pork for Region 1, because I was getting our candidates donations from the National Party. But no, it wasn't bringing home the pork. Region 1, here I am. I'm going to get all passionate about Region 1. I loved Region 1. I loved being Region 1 rep. So much work, though, because it's the largest region. I had 9 states. Now Region 1 is 11 states. But Region 1, all of our states in Region 1, except for Washington, already have ballot access. In Washington, all it requires is 1,000 signatures. Meanwhile, Ohio and Oklahoma are having 250,000. And, you know, just all this ungodly money that comes from all of the national members being spent for their ballot access. So I didn't think it at all unreasonable to ask for $5,000 here and there for a few good candidates in Region 1. And Chuck Moulton, you could call that bringing home the pork. I call it kicking ass for my region. Yeah, if you have a chair that you like, get me to be vice chair. Because we'll keep that chair in at all costs. Oh, my Lord. But to be honest, I probably would run for state party chair before I'd ever consider national vice chair even. And I do plan on at some point running for Colorado state chair. But I will never run against Wayne. Wouldn't that be funny if I ran against Wayne? I'd kick his ass. I'm so competitive. It's terrible. Oh, my goodness. But I am training up an assistant secretary who perhaps will be running after my hopefully third term. All right, webinar mode. Here's the controversy du jour. Libertarians are rambunctious. And in our Zoom meetings, which are just run as meetings, you know, not webinars, we have people, last time, okay, listen, I love you fucking libertarians, but here's the big but. I had to spend all night one night after that chair election meeting editing that video because we had Mr. ISIS man who kept spamming dead bodies and ISIS terrorists. And then in the middle of the video, someone changed their feed where it was supposed to be their face to have like a gangbang video, okay? So that was, hope you all had a lot of fun. All that meant is I got a night of no sleep, having to edit out the pornography, and now you guys are probably going to lose having that free and open access because people did that. So I hope they're happy with themselves. And it was a really graphic pornography. And it was a really graphic ISIS video of dead bodies. It was really gross. So right now, the LNC has the votes to say we're going to have our meetings in webinar mode. From what I understand, webinar mode has improved since the last time I used it. Oh, also, we had people just breaking in and like yelling at us, like they'd unmute themselves. We had somebody who got on the mic and started screaming, "Fuck you, Karen Ann," and Joshua Smith is a scumbag. I mean, people have Tourette's or something. So the LNC has the votes to put into webinar mode, which will prevent people from unmuting themselves. And that's all I know for sure. And I think it also turns off their video. Yeah, Kenny, at least they said Ann. It means it's somebody who is very familiar with me. Because I can't tell you how many emails I get that just say Karen, and I'm like, you don't know me that well. And I just love, by love, I mean hate. It happens all the time, though. I'm first meeting somebody, I'm like, you know, the introductions. Hey, I'm Karen Ann. Hey, Karen. It's like, okay, I said the Ann for a reason. Now, y'all know my heart is, we can put, listen, this is my heart. If I have to stay up all night and edit out porn, I'll do it. It's worth it to me for the membership to be able to participate freely. I wish I didn't have to, but I'm willing to do it. They put it on staff, and I said, no, don't make staff do it because we'd have to pay for that. I'll do it. I don't mind having to hear "fuck you, Karen Ann" every once in a while on a microphone. I'll live. I put on my big girl knickers before I go to meetings. I've heard worse. Particularly since whenever anyone gets on the mic, 95% of the comments are in support of me. I could live with the 5% of "fuck you, Karen Anns." I'm not going to die. We could publish it as private until somebody goes through and does the edits. I mean, there's fixes. But the rest of the LNC isn't quite as tolerant of it as I am. For whatever reason, I'm not judging them. Believe me, when I have criticism, I don't hold back. So don't think I'm just being polite when I say I really don't blame them. We all have different levels. So they're going to go into webinar mode. The last time I used webinar mode was at the 2020 online portion of our convention, and it was horrible. The only way people... you do have chat. Or is it question and answer? I think it was question and answer. Here's my concern. We're going to look up webinar mode in a minute. I'm fine with webinar mode if it keeps people from yelling out. And if it keeps people from posting porn instead of their video of themselves. Faith, actually, that's not true, though. Let me put Faith's comment up, because this seems intuitive to people, but this isn't correct. They wouldn't do it at a face-to-face, so waiting until public comment to speak up is appropriate. I know that seems intuitive, but members are allowed to participate in debate at LNC meetings. They're allowed to seek to be recognized. Now, it has to be done without objection, or if an LNC member objects, then it requires, I think, a 2/3 vote of the board. We very rarely object, so I can't remember the threshold. I believe it's 2/3. So no, they do have the opportunity to ask to speak at face-to-face. So this is my concern. I don't know if you can raise your hand in webinar mode. If you can raise your hand in webinar mode, that would then make it equivalent to an in-person meeting where a guest who wanted to speak and debate would have to stand up and raise their hand. They don't get to shout out and interrupt. And all of the LNC members would be made hosts, because LNC members can interrupt. No matter how much Mr. Longstreth might have shrieked at me that time I interrupted. You can interrupt. There's certain rules for it, but you can. We would have to have a dedicated volunteer to monitor the raised hands, because you can't count on the chair to see it, because there's too many people. But we do have some staff who have offered to volunteer, and my assistant secretary, who's going to be at all meetings, could volunteer. So if they can raise their hand in webinar mode, which I believe they can, so that will allow for public comment. My concern is chat. I believe they should be allowed to chat all they want, and I don't care what they say. Yeah, there should be, just say who raised hands first. Zoom doesn't have that yet. It's just a matter of spotting it, but we have that same problem even with LNC members that want to speak. And usually people are pretty honest. Oh, so-and-so had their hand up ahead of me. But I think chat is disabled in webinar mode, and that bothers me. Because even though they, we're going to look that up, Ryan. I think they just added raised hands in webinar with the Zoom upgrade. Because Zoom just added an upgrade for raised hands for co-hosts, which didn't used to be there before, and it was a pain in the ass for me. But no chat. Now, I know people say, well, you can't chitter-chatter amongst yourselves in a live meeting. Well, yeah, people do. They whisper to each other. They could pass notes even. So I don't want the chat to be muted, because I monitor the chat, and sometimes the chat gives me ideas, or I see a member ask a question that I think is a good question, and then I use my power as an LNC member to ask the question on behalf of the member. I don't want to get rid of the chat. Of course, we can always encourage them to go to the YouTube live chat, and I could just monitor that, but that I already am doing an awful lot at these meetings between minutes and live voting and everything. So let's go to Mr. Google and see if you can raise your hand in Zoom webinar mode and if you can have chat. So I'm looking up Zoom webinar, raise hand, because I think you can now. Raising your hand in a webinar. This was updated 6 days ago. Okay, check this out. Let me share my screen. Okay, raising your hand in a webinar. The raised hand feature allows attendees, panelists, co-hosts, and the host to raise their hand. And I saw somewhere in here it informs the host that, so it gives them some kind of notification that they raised their hands. To manage participants with raised hands, so it says you can manage, so let's look at this. Manage participants. Okay, first thing shows participants that are allowed to talk, and then participants with their hands raised. Oh, check this out. Participants that raise their hand first are displayed at the top. But that's panelists. I want to look for attendees. Managing attendees. So here's where you allow them to talk. It doesn't say, though, it sorts them by who raised their hand first. We'll have to figure that out. But not that many raise their hand at a time. The past few meetings have been exceptions. And you can promote an attendee. I already knew that. Okay, let's look at chat then in Zoom. So Zoom webinar, I think only private chats. Chat versus Q&A. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's public Q&A and chat feature. Meeting versus webinar. Okay, I'm looking for chat though. Okay, it looks like you can have chat in a webinar. If so, my concerns are alleviated. I would like to know if Diana has other concerns, so she'll need to let me know. And also, we still run the risk of people getting on the mic or being in the chat and being very disruptive. Or we had somebody who was sexually harassing a minor, or at least the accusation was. I don't know if they were or they weren't, because I didn't see everything. We could require registration so that we know who everyone is, and we could deal with following up with their affiliate if somebody does something that's illegal. Let me go back here and go back to my camera. Okay, I want to look at the chat. Josh, we could have pre-registration, which I suggested. I don't really like screening people, but pre-registration lets us know who they are if they do something wrong. I don't like pre-crime and assuming people are going to be doing something wrong. And people they don't know their questions ahead of time. It's often based upon what is being discussed. So, Diana, I think maybe our concerns with webinar have been answered. I would love to know if you have any other. But if people can raise their hand and if they can chat, then they can participate fully. What they're not able to do is verbally interrupt the meeting, but they shouldn't be allowed to do that anyway. They're not allowed to do that in a live meeting. So I don't know. I might be okay with webinar. What I told Diana in an email was that let's try it for one meeting. And she had my word that if it somehow stifled member participation, that I would then oppose it. But I didn't want to just oppose it for the sake of opposing it. I know people in the LNC think I do that. I don't. But we would never do pay to play, Josh. I'm completely opposed to any scheme of pay to play. And the LP in general is will freak the hell out if any suggestion of pay to play comes. So we're going to try it, I think. Well, they already have the votes to try it, whether I like it or not. So I think, though, I might be okay with it. All right, let's see if there's anything else to go over tonight. Otherwise, I think Wayne and I are going to watch another episode of The Handmaid's Tale. That's kind of our guilty pleasure. We're catching up. We're almost done with season 2. I know it's on season 3 now, but I'm so busy that we haven't had a chance to catch up. And yeah, Mike Heiss was somebody impersonating Michael Heiss. And anybody can speak at meetings during public comment. Alrighty, I think that is it for this evening. I thank you guys for being here. Tomorrow, I might have information on Doug Bruce and whatever he's got going on. I know it's a petition rights thing. And that other initiative that we have the petition here, update you guys on that. But Friday night, as you know, is always history. So we will have a history show tomorrow, and we are going to start going through. I'm going to pull it out here, show you guys. The Political Action Manual. And that's where I found out at the end for resources where I found out about this, which we went over at the beginning of the show. So we will be doing that tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, I'll ask Doug if I can record it, but he might be a little weird about that. I had said for patrons, because we're almost done, and I'm almost done reading. All I have left is one more chapter to read. Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 1972. One more chapter to read, and then I need to record my patron-only content on that. And I was going to immediately go to start talking about Radicals for Capitalism. But when I went to go pull that off the shelf, I found another book that I want to do first because it's very timely for what we're doing in our history right now. And the name of the book is just called 1973. I think it's just called January 1973. I have to look at the title, but it talks about Watergate. I think it talks about Roe v. Wade. Like, it talks about all this momentous stuff that was happening right then. So that book, I think, is very timely. And then we'll do Radicals for Capitalism. So that's it, everyone. I've been recording a lot today. Hopefully the YouTube ad gods will be kind, because this is my part-time job right now. But I am going to take off. I will see you all tomorrow. Love you all. Bye-bye.
gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe